detective that's looking for this creepy guy. Turns out it's him.
Oh.
So I think this would be perfect for that kind of
Wow, yeah.
setup. Because I don't have the prosthetics anymore.
He did And welcome here to our 25th anniversary show. What? Quit doing that. That's stupid, man. Look, I got a special guest.
Hey, it's good to be here.
Jeff Tucker from, he works somewhere around here, very popular.
You could say that, yeah, especially in the horror world, yeah.
Especially in Halloween. Can we say it, or is it get in trouble?
No, of course, that's where I work.
Knott's Berry Farm and Halloween Hot. One of my favorite places, probably my favorite place to be, really. All of them.
It's very comforting.
Yeah,
yes, it is.
no,
yes,
it's
it is.
beautiful, man. Not like places like Disney. Oh no, I'm sorry. Let me
Now,
digress.
see, I went to the Mickey's Halloween treat one time.
Was it any good?
It was terrifying, the crowds. But not in the right way. Not like, oh my God, I'm in fear of my life, but not in the right way.
You know, to be honest, I've always hated Disneyland, but for the last 3 years, I go because of my nephews. And, it is cool to see it from their eyes. You know, they get all...
Sure. I actually love Disneyland because when I go to Disneyland, you don't have to do anything, you know.
Yeah, they don't
there's no such thing as a day off, so I'm always there on. So at Disneyland, I don't have to...
Yeah, they don't say, hey, Jeff!
Yeah, well, I'd still get that, but from the cast members. But it's still just, the best part is people who go, it's me, and I go, I don't recognize you. Well, I normally wear a mask. That would be it. That would be it.
Yeah, that's the best way though.
Yes.
Hey, this thing.
You're creaking. Is that you or the chair?
I think it's me. I'm old. You're an author, right? You write.
Yeah. I had a crazy idea to write a book, and that's turned into. I'm up to book 4 right now. I'm working on.
Wow. How's that going like?
It's very rewarding. It's different from anything that I do because book writing is so slow and so time consuming. But when you meet a kid who's read one of my books, and they're hefty books, they're about 400 to 500 pages each. So when you see a 13 or 12-year-old kid who's read them, you can have a conversation. It's very rewarding.
Now, where do you get time to write? Because I know you're very busy over there.
Well, if you're going to write a book, I always tell it's one of those things you have to find it in yourself that you have to do it. If it's one of those things you're thinking of doing because it's not fun. It's not fun at all. So basically, you give up parts of your life. While my family is watching a movie or going somewhere, I stay home. I spend 3 to 4 hours and I get 9 pages.
So you do like a little bit at a time.
It's just a little bit at a time. It's a slow marathon. And you're just constantly piling up pages, and eventually you have a book.
I think that's the best way to do it, especially when you're busy. You don't have no choice, but you just do it. And then you don't get all burned out and get writer's block, or do you still get that sometimes?
No, it's weird. I'm very lucky. I've never had writer's block. What I like to do is like to challenge myself. My books are about magicians, so there's constantly traps and tricks that they have to get out of. So I like to write them into a situation that I have no idea how they're going to get out of. And then a couple days later, I just figure it out.
Wow.
And that keeps me excited about the book. So it's not so just, paint by numbers. They go here, they go there. It's totally different.
Well, tell me a little bit about the storyline. Like, is there main characters that you...
Yeah, it's weird. I wrote the first draft in 2003 to 4. So it's quite a long time ago that I wrote it. And that book was about a 16-year-old boy named Jack Ransom who is going to school. He gets bullied. And one day, he thinks his father is coming to get him for the big summer trip. It takes place in 1902. And he discovers that this strange man shows up to pick him up with all these stories that, hey, guess what? Your father lied to you your whole life. He doesn't work. He's not a salesman. He's a magician. He's been traveling the world doing shows and making enemies, and he's missing. So you've got to come with me, and we're going to find out what happened to him. So it sets in motion this huge globe-trotting adventure with all of these characters. And when I finished it, I put the book away for a while, and I had trouble, because what happened was, from when I started writing it to when I finished it, I became a better writer. So the first part of the book was terrible. So I went back and I had to fix it again and again. And then because I had put my wife in the book and my 2 sons in the book, it became sort of a family affair. And right in the middle of that, I had a daughter. So the key to the whole book, and they always tell you this happens, is that you'll plan all of these grand things, and the thing that's an accident will be the thing that people like the most. So I went back. We're getting a call.
Kick you off, Kyle.
So what happened was,
Sorry about that.
it's all right. It's like the dinosaur in Jurassic Park 3. Whenever the phone rings, they know it's getting closer. I'm the only one that's seen that movie.
It's kind of like Horror Comes to Theater.
So I decided to write a wraparound story starring my daughter. I turned her into a 16-year-old girl, and she gets a summer job at the Magic Castle in Hollywood. And she's discovering these stories. So it becomes a little like Never-Ending Story, where we're getting both stories. And what happened was, when people read it, they loved the Josie wraparound story better than the actual story. So in books 2 and 3, Josie became the primary character. And just like everything in life, I stumbled into what makes the book a success. All the plans I had about Jack Ransom action figures and play sets all gets thrown out because Josie takes over the book. And the funniest part is that I write Josie's part through a diary. So it's her voice. So I have to think like a 16-year-old girl. And my wife, I don't really let anybody watch me write because I look like a crazy person, because I fiddle with my hair and I stare off into space. And my wife will go, "How are you doing this?" Because I've had people tell me, this sounds exactly like a 16-year-old girl. And the answer is, I have no idea. But the books are so exciting and so fun that I'm about to finish right now book 4. I have one more in me before I end this series, and I desperately want to write something different. I love my characters, but I've spent, at this point, 13 years with them writing. So on and off, not constant. But it's been a great journey doing it.
The name of the book?
The name of the book is The Sixth Key. It's the Sixth Key series. So it's The Sixth Key, The Lost Station, The Infinite Backward, and my new one is called The Ice Temple. And they're all available on Amazon.com right now. You can get them in a paperback, or if you have a Kindle, you can get them for $1.
And do you have a website or anything like that?
I tried the website route.
Not good?
No, I'm not savvy like that. Excuse me. I do a podcast, and I had a really talented guy build me an entire website for the podcast that I've never used because I'm just not savvy. So I use Facebook, because Facebook's really easy. So if you go to Facebook and search either my name, Jeff Tucker, or The Sixth Key, it'll come right up.
That's cool. So I want to bring up something because I seen you you ran a clip off your Facebook. You were on the Wally George show.
I was on the Wally George show, yeah.
I used to watch that all the time.
Wasn't he the greatest?
He was.
He was the godfather of trash reality television. Before Morton Downey Jr., before Springer, there was Channel 56 here in Southern California, KDOC, Wally George. Every Saturday night, the hot seat, and then during the week, the hot seat hotline where he took phone calls.
Yeah, that's when he blew up and got real popular, and they started having him on all the time. Yeah. But I remember when you posted it, and I looked, and I'm going, I remember that episode. That's him.
And you know what? It's interesting. I was a big fan, and one of the constant things in my life is the things that I like and enjoy. I want to find, how can I be a part of that? You know, like I love Back to the Future. So I used to sneak into Universal Studios and walk around Hill Valley. And when it came to Wally George, I was like, I'm going to be on the show. And people thought I was crazy. So I wrote Wally a letter, back when people wrote letters, and I mailed it. And he called me up like 2 days later. Wow, he said, "This Saturday, what are you doing? Come be on the show." And it turned out it was a really famous show where they had about 40 minutes of a really serious topic. They had the head of the KKK debating the head of the Jewish Defamation League. Oh, yeah. And they tore the set apart. And there I am in the green room hearing all this commotion. And I'm up next to talk about how because I was 19 at the time, how kids of America don't make enough money working minimum wage. And Wally brought me on and called me a communist and an idiot. And I got to live out a childhood dream. I got thrown off the hot seat.
That's cool,
He
man.
picked me, the guard picked me up and threw me off. Of course, I'm just off camera standing there.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Wally calls me all these names. And you know what? It was so amazing. And the funniest part was, this will tell you when it was. I was working at Blockbuster Video. I was the night manager at Blockbuster Video. And I started my shift, and then I left to do the show. I got thrown off. I had this amazing thing, and by an hour later, I was checking in movies.
With
like,
Jack?
yeah, with the whole crew. Like, nobody here has any idea what I just did.
Yeah.
And that was like, it was great.
I love that show.
Yeah.
Like you said, it was like the first one of its kind where you'd be like, you know, it was done real shoddy, not good, you know, whatever, kind of like this show. But it caught on. It caught fire, man. It was popular. It, you know, I don't know if at the end they were saying stuff about they were starting to get scheduled. I mean, guests that were already planning stuff, like they weren't really whatever.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm totally sure that a lot of it was
which
staged.
is whatever, but
that's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. That's entertaining.
You know, Wally had girls on who were going to mud wrestle, and he was like totally against it. And by the end of the show, they had a pool of mud, and Wally was in it. I'm like, okay, that wasn't planned, sure.
Yeah, it was so exotic at that time. We did like I said, it was one of my favorite shows at the time. So we did a character here called Wally Wonderbread.
Oh, that's great.
So we had one of my best friends, black dude. He would put a white wig on, and then he'd be, shut up, you. You know, I would do stuff in the background like the crowd. Shut up, you minority, and do all that stuff like that.
The most interesting part of being on the Wally George show was he had an audience. Now, it was in a small studio. Like the studio we're in is a pretty good size. Mm-hmm. The one that Wally was in was literally a garage with a garage door. So we would come in through the studio door, but the audience was brought in through this actual moving garage door. Really? So they'd bring the audience in and then close the door behind them, right? And he would whip them up in a frenzy with bumper stickers and T-shirts, and you've got to hate the guy. Now, I come out. I'm a really tiny 19-year-old dork. And
yeah, sunglasses.
Oh, completely. And I just remember, like, he's yelling at me, and the audience is cheering, and I'm there, and I'm like, this is fun. And then they go to commercial, and the audience wants to kill me.
They start saying,
and they're 3 feet away, and I just remember thinking, I got to get through this, or they're going to lynch me here. This guy has got him into a froth that they're going to kill me.
Yeah.
And when they threw me off, I was like, okay, I got to get out of here now, because the audience doesn't know that it's all part of the show, because before the show he's the complete gentleman. How are you? Do you want some snacks? Come on in.
You remind me of a politician kind of.
Really nice. And so years later, 1994, I was working at Knott's in the Silver Dollar Saloon. It's not even there anymore. It's now a shooting gallery. But the head of the park came in with Wally George and his then 7 or 8 year old daughter, and he says, get Mr. George whatever he wants. And I was like, oh my God, I'm pouring him a soda, with a little fountain gun. Yeah. And I said, Mr. George, you probably don't remember me, but I was on the hot seat. And he looked at me and he said, were you really? I said, yeah, we argued. He says, was I nice to you? And I said, you were a complete gentleman, and it's really an honor to see you again. And that was really nice, really nice.
Oh, how old was he back then, like when you came on? Because he was up there.
Oh, he had to have been in his 60s. Yeah, had to have been. With that polished white hair that he was constantly combing his coif. Oh, yeah, it was great. And did you ever see the episode where the guy turned the desk over?
Probably. I watched all of them.
Oh, they were great.
Yeah, they were. They were fantastic.